Hey everybody, I'm really excited about today's video. We've got a great project and we're going to be doing some really fun things. We're going to be making what I call woodblock Christmas trees. Let me show you an example so you can see what I mean. Here's an example of a set of 3 woodblock Christmas trees. Now you can make these from any kind of scrap wood stock that you have on hand, but for ease, and this is what I do, you can make these out of dimensional lumber. So for example, this one right here is made out of a 1x4, this one's made out of a 1x6, and this one's made out of a 1x8. I've also made them out of 1x10s. And so the height of the tree is the width of the board, if that makes sense. Now, there's a lot of fun things you can do with these trees. As you can see, these have been painted. They can be glitterified. You can glue things on them, decorative things like little ornaments. Another thing you can do is paper them. So on the other side of these, they've been papered. I am going to be showing you how to make 2 different versions of these woodblock trees. First, I'm going to show you how to just make the tree with the smooth edge. And then I'm going to show you how to make another version that kind of has the branches showing. So 2 different kinds of trees, many different sizes, 3 different saws. It's gonna be awesome.
Hey, what you working on?
Hey, I was just showing them how nice these trees look when you paint them and paper them.
They do look nice, don't they?
Yeah, they look great.
You know, I was thinking about doing a video on these new trees that you're cutting out.
That's a good idea. When it's done, I'll put a link up at the top of the screen.
It's a great idea.
Excellent. By the way, my name is James, and this is Homestyle Woodcrafts. Another fun thing about today's video is that we're going to be making these trees using 3 different tools. And I love using tools, so that's going to be fun. Number 1, we're going to make them with a jigsaw. Second, we're going to make them with a bandsaw. And third, we're going to make them with a table saw so that you can see that they can be made in a variety of ways depending on the tools that you have in your shop. And I'm really excited about doing them with the table saw, so make sure you stick around for that. Just a word on safety. We're going to be using several different power tools. Each one has their own safety profile. Make sure that whatever tools you use, you're familiar with them and know how to use them safely. Also, if you're using power tools, make sure that you're wearing ear protection, eye protection, and something to protect your lungs. Okay, back to the fun. Okay, the first thing to do is gather your stock. And like I said before, you can use any scrap wood you want. For purposes of this video, I have a 1x4 here and a 1x6. And of course you can make your trees any size you want. I have kind of some standard base widths I use. So for the 1x4, I mark out a 1.5 inch base. For the 1x6, a 2.5 inch base. For a 1x8, I use a 3 inch base, and 1x10, a 4 inch base. Now these are arbitrary, but if you want to get started with something, you can try those, or of course, whatever you want to do. So then measure out and mark your Christmas trees that you want to cut out. Now we're going to mark them like this for the jigsaw and the bandsaw. We're going to do something different with the table saw, and I'll show you that later. So after you've got them marked, then go to your tool and start cutting them out. We're going to start on this video with the jigsaw. Now when I start cutting, my goal is to cut on the outside of the line. With a blade that's thin like this, or narrow, it can be hard to do a straight line. So just take it slow and be patient, and it will work out fine. Dust mask. Eye protection, hearing protection. Hopefully you can see this okay. Yeah, it's a little rough, but that's okay. Sandpaper works wonders, and A lot of people, including me and Nancy, like that rustic look. So there's our first one with the jigsaw. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is, yes, you could use hand saws like a coping saw. I'm not very good with a coping saw, and I like power tools, and they're faster. So that's what I choose, but if that's what you got, use it, or some other hand saw that you might be able to use. So these are great projects to use a variety of tools with. To cut these out on the bandsaw, just line your marking up so it's straight with the blade, and then just push it through. Now, I make it sound a lot easier than it is. It takes a steady hand, which I don't always have. But again, take it slow, it'll be fine, and you can clean up a lot of mistakes you may make with sandpaper. There you have it. There's two. That last one was smooth. So, tool number 2. I love the bandsaw. It's awesome. Now we're going to move to the table saw, which requires a little bit of a different setup. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a length of board, kind of like this. Okay? And you'll want some length to it because since we're working on the table saw, then you want to have plenty of wood to work with so that your hands aren't close to the saw blade, just to keep safe. So the first thing you do, get your piece of wood and then draw the first triangle on it. And I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, to cut the trees out on the table saw, we need to make 2 adjustments to the table saw. One is to account for the angle of the cut, and the other one is to account for the width of the tree. So the angle of the cut and then the width of the tree. To make the adjustment for the angle of the cut, I raised the blade up because I'm going to be referencing the blade. The way you do this is you take your straight edge and then angle the board so that your straight edge lines up with this edge of the tree. So then what you do is you just push your miter gauge up, and mine's loose, and then it adapts itself to the angle of your board. So that's the adjustment for the angle. Okay. So the next step is we're going to cut this off. Okay. So I'm going to line this up. Well, first of all, I'm going to lower the blade down where I want it. Okay. And I'm going to line this up so that it cuts on the outside of the line. Okay. Now we're going to make the adjustment for the width. Okay. And I'm going to measure from this side because again I want the blade cutting from the outside. I'm going to line it up so that it cuts a pointy triangle. Okay, so it lines up right to here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my block, I'm going to put it up against my fence, and I'm going to set it so it's just touching the base here. I'm going to lock it down. I'm going to move my block back and clamp it into place. Now the reason for this is having this depth, essentially a width stop as opposed to a depth stop, will allow me to make the repeated cut over and over and over. I don't want it up here because I don't want my wood getting trapped or pinched between the block and the blade. Doing that will increase my chance of kickback. So I set the block back here so that when I start my cut, I can measure to it and then push it forward. Okay. So let's give this a try. there you have it. A method to make repeated Christmas tree cuts on your table saw. Now I want to show you how to make a tree that has the branches. These notches cut out that help it look like it has branches. So let me show you how to do that. So we're going to take one of the trees we just cut out, and we're going to mark it up to make it easy to cut those out. So I marked 1/2 inch from the bottom corners on each side. Now this measurement is arbitrary. It can be as wide or as narrow as you want. Okay. And then we're going to draw a line from the peak to that mark. Okay. And again, this is an arbitrary size and doesn't have to be exact. Trees aren't exact. Why should we have to be exact? Okay. So then I'm going to divide this roughly into thirds. I'm going to try to keep this parallel, okay? And again, there's no perfect here. Just what looks good to you. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from the corner to this juncture right here. Okay. And I'm going to do that again up here. All these markings will, of course, be sanded away or painted over or something. Speaking of sanding, something I could have mentioned earlier, I recommend before you cut these out that you just sand the whole piece of wood to get some of that out of the way, because that being able to handle that big piece of wood is a lot easier. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut away this area right here. And this area right here, and this area, and this area, and then we'll be left with branches. Okay, so I'm going to do this on the bandsaw. You can use whatever saw that you're most comfortable with, and that you have in your shop. And there you have it. Looks pretty good. Remember, we're not after perfection. We're about having fun and enjoying ourselves. So if it's a little off, that's okay. This isn't a life or death thing. So next step, sand it up, and then paint it or paper it. Watch for the video link and enjoy. Have a good time, and I hope this helps make your holiday season a little more fun. We're going to keep doing projects like this, so I hope you'll subscribe so that you get notifications. And please, if you have ideas you want to share, put them in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.